So I got to see Halloween Kills back when it came out in October. Um, I I enjoyed it. Uh, well, it wasn't a bad movie. I mean, you're watching Michael run around and kill people, but there wasn't a whole lot else to his character. There wasn't a whole lot going on, and my only real criticism is that everything was kind of expected, and there wasn't anything new to add. And I think that's because modern filmmaking doesn't want to be original. It wants to capitalize on nostalgia and, like maybe they're trying to compete with the Rob Zombie Michael Myers, right? By making him going around killing people like in extra quantities. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it played out sort of like a comic book. I mean, in sequencing. It reminded me of a comic, and I'm not big on comic books. I always like novels. I've always been reading. When I was a kid, I read Goosebumps books, and I read whatever. But, by the time I was, probably nine and a half or 10, I could read a whole novel, and not a short one. I think it was around that time I read Salem's Lot, and I've read a bunch of Stephen King books since then. And I never cared for comic books, and I never cared for superheroes or any of that stuff. I've always been into horror and science fiction, like creature features and dark science fiction. Um, I've never been big on superheroes and fantasy stuff. Lord of the Rings is okay. Anyway, back to this movie here. It's not the worst addition to this never ending butchered series, right? But the imagery and sequencing reminded me of a comic book, and some of the dialogue was really corny. They kept repeating phrases over and over, especially the mob saying "evil dies tonight" over and over. You had the whole sequence with the mental patient jumping out the window and killing himself. You could have taken all of that out of this movie and replaced it with something better, and it would have made the movie better. Or you could have just taken all that out. It would have been a shorter movie by, I don't know, 10 minutes. So what? Uh, it wasn't terrible. I've seen a few reviews where people think it was just the worst movie. I think what's really going on is people are craving something new, and all they're getting is like the same shit over and over, and it's predictable. That's why it's dumb. It is absolutely predictable. Michael's going around killing people. He's not even doing any of the weird stuff that he used to do, right? All you see him doing is showing up and butchering people. So there's nothing else to his character anymore. He's kind of a shell of what he used to be. And that's because in the first movie, half of it is him stalking Laurie, right? It's him stalking Laurie Strode until nightfall. And even after nightfall, that's when he picks off her friends. And then she has to go investigate. She has to go try to help her friends out. And that's where Michael gets her. So the plot of that movie focuses on the situation, the anxiety, and it focuses on Laurie having a normal day, and Michael continues to pop up, and it really messes with her head. And being stalked is a real thing, and right, we have instincts. So stalking really plays on your instinct, your anxiety. And I think that was a really, really good choice in the first film. Well, that's all gone. Um, And I don't think Michael's been doing a whole lot of that since maybe Halloween 6, the producer's cut. That's a cool movie. And the new ones aren't terrible, but they're predictable. So, like, check this out. I always thought that Michael chose the mask he wears because he's been wearing his blank, emotionless face for, decades, right? Dr. Loomis says it himself. It's just an act. He's just fooling people, right? But Dr. Loomis isn't fooled. He knows that Michael's just putting on this little catatonic act so that people will believe he's harmless. So I think, Michael chose that mask because he's actually been wearing his face that way for, years and years. And he's got everybody fooled. And I always imagine that actually, when he puts the mask on, he gets to smile, he gets to grin, like that pumpkin in the credits, in the beginning credits. He's stalking, he's killing, and he's got this creepy grin on his face like he's having fun the entire time. That's just something I made up, right? But, the joke is on everyone else. They thought he was just blank and emotionless and dumb, so he puts on that mask. Underneath, he's smiling. But we don't get any of that kind of stuff, I think if they want to make it new, take it forward, they're going to have to go into that sort of territory, right? They're going to have to add to his character and refine him a little bit without explaining everything. And to that point, I didn't have a problem with Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. I still think that one is scarier than this, new sequel bullshit going on. I mean, it's not a bad iteration of Michael, but I still think the Rob Zombie one is way scarier. But anyway, yeah, they can do stuff with him, but they're just not doing it. And when you've got a lack of character, and I know it's hard to do with Michael because he never speaks, right? They did something with him. He stands there and stares out his sister's window. That was a good, creepy addition. You never really heard about that happening in the other movies. And I thought that was cool, right? He has this compulsion to go stare outside of his sister's window and look down on the street. Why they didn't load up the entire police department in his house, well, I guess that kind of would have ruined everything, right? But anyway, I just don't think there's been a lot of original ideas in filmmaking, and that's a problem. If they had started where, okay, we're gonna cut everything after the first movie, and we're even gonna take out Laurie Strode, right? If they just left her out of it, new Halloween movie, right? Maybe it's her daughter and granddaughter, or maybe just cut Laurie Strode, just cut her out altogether. Gone. Well, where's Laurie Strode? Where's the original? Yeah, she moved. She didn't live there anymore. She gone. And without making this some kind of idiotic teenage drama, I don't know. This whole thing has just been done over and over again. Kind of tired of seeing Jamie Lee Curtis pop up. It was okay with H20, but this is a butchered series, and they're not really taking it in any new, interesting direction. At least that's my view. Maybe I have higher standards. You know, it is a good popcorn flick, right? If you want to see crazy guy going around stabbing people, the actor did a good job. I think his I don't know, bodily expressions, right? His body language is pretty good here, but there's not much else, you know. I don't care to see Michael unmasked. I don't even care if he speaks at some point, but if he does speak, what's he going to say? Maybe he'll just say the word Halloween. I don't know. And will it do anything for the series except piss people off who don't want to hear him speak? It better add to the story, you know. He better say something relevant, and I don't even know what that would be. In the last video, I was talking about where the series has to go, and I don't see it going anywhere unless they make an anthology series. Different stories about Michael Myers. You don't know if the protagonist is going to live or die, and he shows up in different places every Halloween. He's not just in Haddonfield, Illinois anymore. He's all over the place, right? He's in a different place every Halloween, and Michael has an agenda in that place, right? And he's going after a specific person, and there's got to be some hint at some motive. But that's the only place they can take it, and I just don't think that people have the imagination to be original anymore. So, we'll see what happens with the next film. It's coming out next October. And, unless they decide to get really creative all of a sudden, just expect more of the same. Anyway, it's just food for thought, Take care.